G'day folks. Well, today I've finally got the old Hyundai Elantra block home from Brad's place. This was the engine that was badly cooked to the point where it only had 10 psi compression on a couple of cylinders and 0 on the others. Like, this engine died a horrible death, and I'll post a link in the description to the original autopsy video that I did at his place. But he gave me this block simply because the customer didn't want it. I can understand why. And he wanted me to figure out just how bad it was inside the bottom end. I mean, we know the pistons rock back and forth inside the bores because they've definitely changed size and shape. I just want to pull the rest of the bottom end apart and just see what the piston rings and the skirts are like. I don't have any bore gauges, so I can't measure the bores themselves, but I've got good reason to believe that the bores got hot enough to actually expand and warp. So the bores are probably oval shaped by now. I noticed just moving the pistons up and down by hand, some parts remain clean. Well, they don't remain clean, sorry, they leave dirt on there because there is absolutely no contact with the bore and the piston. Like that one there's just got about half a millimetre of play in it. Without dropping the engine off the block of wood, I'll try and turn her over and show you a bit more. Okay, now this cylinder would have been dead long before the engine got cooked. It would have had a misfire from when the customer bought the car. I think they only paid about $2,000 for the car with the roadworthy and rego. It had a failing water pump, which has failed numerous times. There's a lot of tide marks in the water galleries. So it's been cooked a few times before, but not this bad. And the final nail in its coffin was that the radiator tank exploded on the highway. And of course the driver kept driving, and roughly 2 kilometres later at the most, the engine just stopped. Like, it just burned itself up, something fierce. Everything was cooked, even the air conditioning compressor that came off it smells burnt. Or at least the oil inside the aircon compressor smells burnt. The funny little spring thing inside there, all the oil in there's burnt and solidified. Don't know what that's all about. Might be an oil pressure relief valve or something. It's an odd place to put it though. So I'm going to prop this thing up, try and get the sump off it, and I'll get into the bottom end and start pulling pistons out. Well, sump's finally off. All I can say is this smell coming out of this thing is just incredible. You'd think it had been through a proper fire. There's about a litre, not even a litre of oil left in it. It's a bit of very nasty pitch black oil. I've seen better oil come out of old diesel engines than that. Yeah, it's bad. Crankshaft's burnt. All that's got burnt oil on it. The bottom ends have gotten extremely hot. Wow, that's really something. Try and get the bottom, get these end covers off. They're cast alley covers that unbolt and come off. And I'll start undoing con rods next. It's got B stamped on it. No, BB. They've got some markings on them, but I'm not trying to put it back together for any reason. I'm just going to take the bearings out and chuck it back together and see how much of a noise it makes. That's always fun. That one I've half unbolted. That's the rear main. That's the rear main seal. And the rear main bearing in there. Now slowly getting it to bits. I've got all the conrod nuts off. Just going to undo the bottom end bearing caps, the big ends. Or, sorry, not the big ends, the mains. That balancer and crank sensor things in the way. There we go. Force it in there. Yeah, bearing shells don't look too bad. They're not showing copper. That one's got a nice big score mark in it. There's a few score marks but no copper. Get these big end caps off the conrods. Oops, there we go. She's pretty roasted. The smell is incredible. Let's try a conrod bearing shell. No copper showing. Not too bad. It's stuck. Alright, we're apart. I've got the crank out. It's not too bad, it's just badly cooked. It's gone black. And golden brown in some places. That's for the crankshaft angle sensor or position sensor. Yeah, and that's the output end obviously. Your drive plate bolts on there, or flywheel for a manual car. Nice big oil journals. Actually quite big actually. I've seen smaller ones on V8s. The bearing shell still attached there. They're not too bad. I mean, the thing cooked itself to death, but the real carnage is going to be in the cylinders. You've got to get these pistons out and have a look at them, because they're black and stiff. Like that rod is stuck. That one's not too bad, but some of them are really stiff. I mean, they really did get hot. Obviously you don't leave parts lying around like this if you want to put the engine back together again. I don't recommend it. But I have no intention of putting this engine back together again. It's stuffed. I'll pull this cover off too and have a look at the oil pump. And that's the oil pump feed. It looks fairly clean. The engine never ran low on oil. It was full of oil when it died. So, yeah. I'm having a bit of fun with this. Okay, we have pistons. Remember, this is the dead cylinder. You can tell it's had incomplete combustion. But these ones here, particularly these two end ones, ran very, very hot. Yeah, nice carbony black. That rings, it's still free. Very soft though. The rings are very soft. Also, probably a combination of the bore changing shape and the rings collapsing. Oh, that's burnt. That's way too hot. All the oil that's touched the underside of it is burnt up, hence the smell. This is the frontmost piston closest to the water pump. If it was a longitudinal engine, this would be the front of the engine and the back would mount onto the transmission. So this would be number one. This is the one that was never working properly to begin with. Again, still got very hot. The crown's all scored badly. Yeah. The skirt still shows machining marks from the turning centre. But yeah, she's burnt. Very burnt. Same story again. Rings are very soft, badly worn, eaten away. Most of the compression from this engine was going down through the crankcase. Don't know about the head though, I don't have the head. Brad's going to scrap that one. Same story again. The rings are soft as plastic, badly worn. And yeah, the crown's gotten very hot. You can see that transition mark there. The oil started burning off down the skirt. So the crown's probably shrunk a bit and ovalized itself. The bores themselves will be very bad. So that's trash. Don't know if it's worth actually putting it back together again and trying a high-speed destruction test. I was hoping the conrods would be alley, but they're actually cast iron, so it'd be fairly hard to kill. But I might as well rip these piston rings off, just drop the pistons down there and go for it. Make some terrible noise. But that'll be a separate video.